everyone, it's Beck here with our junior church activity for today, and as you can tell, we're going to do some baking. So this is our last junior church video of the term because we're about to break up from school and I think it would be good for us all to have a summer holiday. So hopefully this will be some fun as our last one. For our baking today, you are going to need some self-raising flour, some milk, some eggs, some cheese, and I have got started just to make it a little bit quicker for us today. So I'll tell you why we're doing this as we start to make them, but we're going to make some cheese scones today. So in my bowl here, I have got some self-raising flour. The recipe is 150 grams of self-raising flour and 45 grams of margarine or butter. I've doubled it because I'm feeding my hungry family. So I've got 300 grams and 90 grams of butter. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the butter up quite small and then rub the butter into the flour with my fingers and thumbs until I get a sort of breadcrumb appearance in here. So we'll cut this up. Now whilst I'm rubbing in, I'll explain a little bit about why we're doing this today. So the Bible story in the church service today is from Mark's Gospel, and it's the events that happen around the feeding of the 5,000. So it talks a bit about what happens before and after the feeding of the 5,000. In those bits in Mark, Jesus has sent the disciples out to go and heal people and share the good news that he has come and what that might mean. And then the disciples come back and Jesus recognises that they need a rest, and he tries to give them a rest and takes them out on a boat with the idea of them going somewhere by themselves just to rest and be able to talk and recharge their batteries a little bit. But what happens is that the crowds see them and follow them, and so Jesus ends up preaching and telling all sorts of stories and important things to all the crowds that come. And at the end of the day, all of those crowds are hungry, and that's when the disciples say to Jesus, well, all these people need feeding, and Jesus feeds them by a miracle with bread and fish, and he feeds 5,000 people. And then after that, he and the disciples do get to go out onto the boat and have some time to rest, and the disciples are recognising how powerful Jesus is. So one of the things that I think the story reminds me is that Jesus recognises how important it is for us to be able to rest, and also that it's important to be nourished, that we eat. He recognised the needs of the crowd as well as the needs of the disciples. So that's what made me think that I would do some baking today. And Jesus reminds me about having rest and about feeding people. So I've mentioned before that one of the ways I show my family that I love them is I feed them treats and special things. And cheese scones are one of the things that we have sometimes at weekends, because it takes a little bit longer to make than just throwing together a sandwich, and everybody likes them. And Simon's reminded me this morning that we don't feed 5,000, but we feed 5 in our house. So this is starting to come together. I'm going to keep rubbing and stop talking. Hopefully you can see that we've got a breadcrumb type of texture. So that's done for now. The next thing we need for this recipe are our eggs. So the initial recipe's just got 1 egg and 30 mils of milk. I've doubled it to 2 eggs and 60 mils. I'm going to crack the eggs into the milk and then mix them up, beat them with a fork. And then before I get messy, I'm going to get my cheese. So I've got a nice big lot of cheese. I've got about 250 grams of cheese here. Some is going to go in the mixture and I'll keep some back to put on the top of the scones. Here we go. So I have got my liquid, my cheese and my dry mixture. One of the other things that's quite nice to put in these is some mustard because it just brings out the flavour of the cheese. I haven't got any today, so I'm not going to put any in mine. Now, the secret to making scones, which my mum, the lovely Molly, taught me, is keeping the mixture quite wet. It means they rise a bit better, but it does mean it's a bit sticky and a bit messy. We might not need all this liquid, so we're going to put in about 2/3 of it, bring it together and see how it looks. And at about this point, I'm going to add in the cheese. Leaving some to pop on the top of the scones. And it's coming together, but I do think I probably need the last bit of the liquid. So then we're going to put some flour on the worktop to stop it from sticking. And I've got a rolling pin and a cutter. Just make a round shape. I'm going to tip this out onto here and start to knead it together into a dough. One of the other secrets is to not knead it too much, just be quite gentle with it until it's nice and smooth. And then we can turn it over. Give it a gentle roll until it's roughly 2 centimetres thick, or about the length of a grown-up's thumb. Like that. I've got my baking tray with a liner on there, and I've got the oven on at 200 degrees. And the final secret to scones is to press down straight and not twist, and that helps them to rise straight. And in my family, the last little bit was always called the dollop. But it often turns out like a scone, just as good as the others. Just make a little bit of space. So, as you've seen, I've put these on a baking tray. Sneak that one in. Now the next thing we'll do is make them a little bit shiny and sticky on the top with some milk. So I've got my pastry brush. Give them a paint. And on the top we're then going to put a pinch of cheese, which we call sprinkling the cheese. I'm going to put those in quite a hot oven, about 200 degrees for something between 10 and 20 minutes, depends very much on the oven, and I'll show you them afterwards. So here are the finished scones. I'm going to take them off the baking tray and put them on a cooling rack so that they cool off for a little bit. And then they are very nice eaten hot or warm with some butter inside. There we are, some cheese scones. So these are to remind us that Jesus loves us. He knows that we need a rest sometimes. He wants to nourish us with food and lots of good things, and he inspires us to do the same with our friends and family. I hope you all are able to enjoy some nice things to eat, maybe baking together, and some lovely time for rest over the summer holidays. It would be great. Hopefully we can all meet up again together in September. Sending everyone lots of love, and you're in our prayers. Bye bye for now.